Hi, my name's Ian Transu, and I'm with Expat Episodes. Episode number 21 here at Zamek Bilovets, the new home of Expat Episodes. What? No? We can't take over the castle? All right, we'll go back to the office eventually. Yeah, all right. Anyway, we're here today with Russell de Montfort, and hope you enjoy. Have a listen.
My official title is Lord de Montfort. I talk a lot, and you know that from experience. We sold up everything in the UK, moved here. Best decision ever, to be honest with you. It's just great. The food's great, the people are great, the atmosphere and the countryside is probably the best. The Czech language is one of the hardest languages to learn, but you can get by. I like the goulash. I like svichkova. I like the cheese and chips with tartar sauce. I love architecture, I love history. I like old castles. We had an opportunity to take this room, make it into a gallery, and I've played Diablo since the beginning when it first came out, and I also play The Witcher as well.
This is Expat Episodes, when news stories begin. I'm Ian, your host, and I'll be guiding you through the stories of expats in the Czech Republic. All right, Russell, thank you for joining us today.
Pleased to meet you.
Good to meet. We know each other, so we've seen each other a few times at the Ostrava expat events.
We have.
So, Russell de Montfort, you've got quite a unique name that actually does have a history, a bit of royalty involved, and first off I have to ask, is this your castle?
It's not my castle.
Oh, okay. Well, today, for those of us watching, or for those of you watching, we are in Zamek Bilovets today, taking our show upon the road. So Russell being the first guest of our out and about sessions of this. So yeah, please go into the name and what connection you have.
Okay, so my name's de Montfort. We arrived at 1066 with William the Conqueror. One of my great uncles also helped build the Parliament of Britain. He has an interesting history, but that's another subject for another day.
Yeah, I've read a bit. He had some bad days, let's say.
He had some bad days, definitely. And then a number of my ancestors were part of the French Revolution, and some of them died on Bastille Day. And then there was moving over to Germany, and that's where most of my grandfather, great-grandfather come from. So we moved across to Bavaria. So yes, I have German ancestry as well as Norman.
So should I be calling you sir?
You would actually, my official title is Lord de Montfort.
Okay, sorry my lord, sorry. We shall make sure we stay on precedence for the rest of it. But where do you come from yourself? Where is your place of birth and what part of the UK?
Okay, so I was born in the Isle of Man, which is famous for TT racing. I used to actually race for Suzuki. My dad was a civil engineer. He worked on military installations and we moved around. My accent is more predominantly London, Essex, but I've lived all over the world, Cyprus, America and Japan.
Mm-hmm. And that was just through your father
being an engineer in the military.
Okay. So before you came over to Czech Republic,
yep.
Let's go right before you got here for your first time ever. What were you doing yourself? What kind of work were you doing?
So I was working for Amy Construction. So they build highways in the UK. I was a project manager, and we came here with my wife on holiday to see her family. And I found a house that was just up the road from here. And we decided to buy it, and I've been renovating that for the last 10 years.
Then that starts into your Czech adventure. Now, you said you have a Czech wife. I've met her before. Behind us are all the paintings and,
yes.
and her work yourself, which you two both are very involved in the art scene around, especially this area, but also the country yep. and abroad. So where did you meet your wife, who is Czech, but obviously you met her as she was living abroad?
Yeah, so we met in London. She used to work for Harrods. And she had a number of box files in front of her. I was working for the Ministry of Justice at the time, and I was on the phone. She was walking one way, I was walking the other. I knocked her over. She swore at me in Russian. I said I'm not Russian. And then I said, here's my card, I'm sorry, I'll buy you lunch. And then a couple of weeks later, she phoned me up, and yeah, the rest is history.
What brought you, or you both, back to the Czech Republic, and why did you decide to live here? And going into that, why this region? Why Ostrava, Moravskoslezský kraj?
Okay, so Rosie was born in Ostrava. Most of her parents and grandparents were miners. They worked in the mines. Her mum was living just down the road. I saw this house that was quite close to where her mum was living, and yeah, we sold up everything in the UK, moved here. Yeah, and best decision ever, to be honest with you. It's just great. People here are lovely. The Czech language is one of the hardest languages to learn, but you can get by. My biggest problem is people hear me and hear my voice and go, oh, I love your accent, can I speak English? So I've been here best part of 13 years and everybody wants to talk to me in English.
So has this led you into actually teaching English as well?
So I run a teaching class in Novici, in Tony's Cafe. I've been doing that for the last 2 years. I don't officially teach, I'm not a teacher, I'm more of an educator, and I help people learn the strangeness of the English language. And I've recently also been looking at building an academy to help businesses and places in Moravia to actually expand their capacity and their understanding of working in an English environment for foreigners.
Okay, I would like to touch on that a bit later because I have heard, you've mentioned to me before about this academy in Nový Jičín. But before we get to that, you were talking about coming in and learning the language here and getting to know the people, and coming from the big contrast of the UK, but you said you got here like 10 years ago or 12 or so? Yeah. What to you has been these contrasts and differences in the cultures, and what do you find quite interesting about like the Czech culture to make you want to stay here and leave old Blighty behind?
For me, and keeping it simple, is the food's great, the people are great, the atmosphere and the countryside is probably the best. I lived in Wales for a while, so Snowdonia and the mountains. And, you know, with Beskedia just up the road, it's just there, it's lovely. Yeah, so for me, the whole area is just pleasant. The biggest change I've noticed, more people speak English. When I first arrived, I was the only Englishman in the village, which is a joke in itself. But yeah, most people that are 35 and under, they speak English, happily to speak English, want to speak English. I can walk down the road and it's, hello, Russell. It's like, I didn't even know they could speak English. And then my wife says, no, they've literally learned how to say, hello, Russell. So it's lovely, you know, it's really nice. I mean, Bilovec is a small village in comparison to Ostrava. Mm-hmm. We're very close to Ostrava. We visit Ostrava on a regular basis. But even that in the last 10 years has changed. It's definitely more cosmopolitan. There's more businesses here that are employing foreigners. When I say a foreigner, non-Czech, because that's how the Czechs view us. As I said, I've been here nearly 12 years. I'm still a foreigner. Even my wife, who left the Czech Republic, has come back, is considered a foreigner. You know, if you don't have that intricacy of the village life, you're a foreigner. You're a stop out sort of thing. But yeah, so that's pretty much it.
You talked about the food. I know you're a meat and potatoes kind of guy. We've had a grill out together, and the amount of times you went on praising potatoes is amazing. So, what kind of the Czech food, the cuisine that really hits you at home?
I like goulash. It's strange as that sounds. I know that's more Czech, Hungarian, but I like the goulash. I like svičkova, but I actually like, and people are going to find this funny, I like the cheese and chips with tartar sauce. It's such a strange thing.
It's one of the greatest things in the world. Fried cheese and tartar sauce is brilliant.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, it's like English cheese on toast. You know, it's a strange thing, but I love it.
Without the beans.
I have been known to have beans with my chips and cheese.
All right, so there's a bit of the Brit in you that just can't be removed.
Can't remove, yeah.
And with this keeping on cuisine and things like that, You've mentioned to me before, because we've talked about hitting some restaurants, and you and I have as well gone over and hit some food trucks going up to castles and as we wander about. But you always seem to praise this little kind of motorbike shop on the side of the highway going up the road, not too far from here.
Yes. So a very good friend of mine, he has taken an old petrol station and he's made it into a motorbike rest cafe. It does washing of the bikes, looking after the bikes, garage and everything like that.
Oh, so it's still a garage as well as?
As well as a garage. They also clean cars, and 2 weeks ago they actually had a biker's wedding. So we're talking like all the Harley Davidsons and the Goldwings and everything else coming up the road and everything else. It was absolutely fantastic. So yeah.
And how do you end up meeting like these people? Not only them, let's say, but also, like, how did you get involved in being here at the Zamek Bilowiec and having your funded art gallery here and your wife's work and the stuff that you're directly involved in?
So the thing is I talk a lot, and you know that from experience. And I find that even when I'm in a restaurant and I'm talking, I could be talking to my family on the phone, or I'm talking to my wife or my friends that have come to visit, people go, "Oh, I like your voice. Oh, I've got something that might be of interest to you." So I end up meeting them for a coffee, and yeah, so people talk, they like to talk, and they go, "Oh, have you heard about this?" or "Have you heard about that?" A lot of people know I like to travel. I do like to see new castles. You and I have done a few in our last couple of weeks, which has been fantastic. And with Zamek Bilowiec, we literally turned up. They were having a reenactment out the front, and I used to do reenactment in England, and I was talking to one of the reenactment guys. He then introduced me to the Castilian, and then the Castilian and I and my wife and that were talking, and yeah, we had an opportunity to take this room, make it into a gallery. Eddie Valish has been absolutely fantastic, and he allows us to do pretty much whatever we'd like, as long as it's art. And we mention the castle, so Zamek Bilowiec, as many times as possible.
Drop the name in many times.
Yeah, many
Zamek
possible.
Bilowiec.
Zamek Bilowiec.
And now your connection with art. I know it's a lot through your wife, but I mean, you have yourself. You seem to do a bit of AI, which I've heard her complain about a bit. Yeah. But what is your fascination with art, especially helping people out with it? We'll go into a bit about your new academy that's also going to have a gallery in it as well. So what is your direct connection and fascination with the art world?
So I've always been interested in art. I lived in London. I used to go around the museums and that, you know, the Tate and the Modern. But COVID hit, and as everybody knows, with COVID, we had the whole, you have to sit inside, and we weren't allowed out. And my wife had left some paints and canvases there. I phoned her up, I said, "Look, I'm going mad, it's just doing my head in." And she said, "It's nice and easy. Pick up a canvas and paint." Now, I'm technical, I am not a painter of any description. So I did some painting, I took some pictures of it, I sent them to her, and she just went, "You know these are really good." It's like, "Yeah, no, they're not." And she just goes, No, they're really, really good." And it's like, okay. So the 6 weeks, we had the quarantining, I was literally painting. We were allowed an hour out. I would go out, I'd take some pictures, I'd bring those pictures back, and then I do abstract. I'm not very good at drawing faces or stuff, it's very abstract. And yes, I do use AI, and because I have an interest in music, art and music is very creative. It uses a different part of the brain. So from a logical perspective, it's very relaxing for me, and that's why. And then obviously getting involved with the gallery, getting involved with the vernissages, meeting more people from Moravia and Brno and Prague, and meeting people that haven't had an opportunity to show their art, but we have an opportunity for them to use this gallery and Mon Ami down the road. It has been really advantageous for them and for me to learn how and why they're doing it. And the reasons people do art is usually for mental health reasons, you know, to help them understand the complicated world that we're in. So yeah, art for me is fundamental in healing very important. And secondly, finding a conduit to explain why the world is the way it is. I don't have the answers, but art certainly helps in that way.
Okay, then this, I guess we can go now into what you're planning to do with this new place. Tell us more about this new place, this academy, this building, what you're doing in Novoyichyn, and what's going to be there. What is your idea for it, and how's this for your future plans?
So the idea of the gallery was, a lot of people said, it's very nice having this space here, but it's not open all of the time. Mon Ami is a cafe, but it's also a bookshop. So seeing art is very difficult. So I made a decision. I was walking through the square in Novoyichyn off of Reslov, and there used to be an old co-op, an old supermarket. Went to the council and said, the space is empty, and they said, oh, it's an open bid, sealed bid, have to put a bid in. I put a bid in, it was successful. They said, oh, could you do a business plan? It's like, yeah, I can do that with my eyes closed, do a business plan, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it was successful, which was great. They're redoing all the windows, that was their commitment, and my commitment is to have a gallery, to promote art and creative arts, so that does include music as well. And then I went, oh, I've got this big open space. It's just over 220 square meters in the center of the town. What else could I do with it? How could I encourage people to come in? And obviously, as you know, I teach/educate English for a variety of people. And I thought, I've got an open space. There's the ability for people to sit down and enjoy themselves, watch the art, and talk about it. And I can talk about it in English. And then a very good friend of mine, Nick Carroll, he's also ex-military, the same as me. He phones me up and he goes, Russ, he said, do you remember you used to do that talk show when we worked for the government? I went, yeah. Could you do it again? And I went, I could, but should I? And he went, you must. So yeah, so the idea was, and thanks to Nick, he said, you've got to do this academy, you've got to teach people. And so part of the business proposal to the council was, any person that wants to learn and understand commercial and business intelligence and corporate intelligence would come here, and the window's just opened, and would come here. It's the ghost. Sorry, Eddie, it's the ghost. And so yeah, so we'd have that opportunity of teaching people how, to speak and understand commercial English, which is slightly different from, Czech and German, what most people are used to. If you work for a German company, it's a particular style. If you work for a Czech company, it's a particular style. But when you're working for the likes of Novartis and Siemens, who are international, English is the de facto. You have to speak English. And a lot of people are nervous. And so the idea of the academy is to teach people how to express themselves. And as you know, I'm good at teaching, I'm good at helping people. I talk a lot, as Michael will know, so that's fine. And that's pretty much what we wanted to do. So anybody wants to understand how to facilitate and how to do public presentations, that's the idea of the academy.
But it's kind of grown into something further, because one of our previous guests, who you have a connection to, Darren, yes. Who's an author, and is actually studying and working on a book or something about your family history in part, so he's happy to speak to you. But he's also mentioned that he's wanting to do some theater production in your place, which I have to say that I'm actually a part of now too. So we were able to go to the gallery. The building work was taking place, but was able to go, and Darren and his wife turned up, and Darren just looked at it and he just went, do you know what? English theatre. And I said, I know nothing about theatre. I'm quite happy to do the Dram and the Shakespeare and that. And he went, no, I'll run it. But is it all right to use the space? So we spoke to the council and we said, is it okay? And they went, please, what a fantastic idea. An English theatre would be a great way of promoting. It would help with education and creativity and everything else. So thank you, Darren. I've now got an English theatre added to my many talents I'm getting. So I'm looking forward to that. So it'd be good. do you find that you seem to like to help people a lot or promote places a lot? You've talked very much well about Zamek Biloviec, and the city as well, Biloviec, Nowy Jičín. You seem to really want to promote the city as well, because it used to be a great center for something, and I mean, maybe it lost a bit of its charm during some time, but now it's definitely growing again, and things are getting redone and remade, and it's beautifying itself. But you do seem to like to get involved in the promotion of these areas and not only the arts, but the cities and the history itself. Why is this?
I love architecture, I love history. And as you know, my ancestors were very good at building things and destroying them. But for me, I'm retired now, officially. I'm not that old, but I am retired officially. So for me, it's a way of giving back. I like helping people in a genuine way. It's not about the kudos. I'm not interested about the kudos. I just like to help people. It's better to get acknowledgement with a smile than it is to get a pat on the back or the keys to somewhere. And that, for me, is more fundamental. I mean, you're helping people doing the things that you do, and that's a noble gesture. And that's the way I look at it. I look at it as a way of helping people for a smile. Mm-hmm. And if you can make somebody smile, life's so much easier. And that's literally why I do it. It's the smile, it's the walking down the road and you just go, oh, that was such and such a person I helped the other day. Whether it's a piece of gardening, whether it's painting a wall, just to help people is a good way of giving back. And then when I need things, people are more than willing to help out as well. And I think that is the thing about the Czech culture is if you help and you integrate, they look at you as one of theirs. We was at the Goulash Fest on Saturday, and everybody comes up to you, try my goulash. And it's like you've got 5 or 6 different dishes, and it's like, and now they ask you that horrible question, which is the best? And you're just like, they're all great.
Who am I about to really piss off now?
Who do I upset first? Yeah.
That one person over there going, no more treats for him.
No more treats for him.
He didn't like mine the best.
Yeah, exactly. So the helping out is really important. And I think, with part of the expats and, we've gone to a number of those shows, everybody we've met, from the top to the bottom, all the ministers or whatever, they've all said, if you can help, help willingly. Don't ask for something automatically in return. And I think that's the way, certainly, Olomouc, Biloviec, Novici, Ostrava, which is where I usually hang out, everybody has, I was in a restaurant the other day, a person was arguing and I literally walked up to him and went, are you okay? And the guy turned around and said, yeah, thanks for asking. And I'm English and they're Czech, but you can see, and it was all over somebody had booked the wrong table and they'd sat at the wrong table. And there was 3 or 4 spare tables. But interacting with people in that way is really important.
But you've also got this kind of what I've noticed with Czechs as well, you've got kind of the same thing of if you show up at somebody's house, you always bring something.
A gift.
Whether it's a bottle of wine,
absolutely,
a can of beans or whatever.
Yep.
You just show up with something, which is a very Czech thing as well. Every time people go places, they're like, oh, I brought this. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed is, and we don't do it very much in England, unless it's a wedding or an anniversary or something, we don't usually bring gifts. But here, certainly in the villages, you bring homemade pickles, or you bake a cake, or you bring goulash or whatever. And yeah, it opens people's minds to, yeah, these people are actually the same as us. We might not speak the same language, we might look a little bit different, but generously, we're all the same. We're all the same type of thinking, and food is a great opener. And if it's not food, it's beer. I don't drink. I only drink Kafula, but same thing, isn't it? Really?
All right. Well, let's go with this then. Now you've already mentioned goulash or svíčková or something like this about. Now you're also a Kofula man.
I am a Kafula man. Yeah.
What turned you? What changed you from? Now, I lived in Scotland for many years, and so my drink of choice was Iron Brew. But then I got over here and it's like, oh no, this hands down. Kofula beats it, especially when it comes draft.
Absolutely.
So what are these things of the culture here, besides the food, especially this region of Moravskoslezský kraj, that you find just entices you? So the Kofula, whether it's food.
So local pubs are great. They've got draft beer. They've sometimes got a mini brewery. And everybody's happy. You know, we're eating, we're drinking, we're playing chess, maybe playing cards. And language isn't a problem. You know, you're playing chess or you're playing cards, as long as you don't cheat. You know, everything's good. But the food, for me, is of a quality that you don't usually get when you're traveling around elsewhere. The food here is always good. You don't have to wait too long. It's a reasonable price. I do like Kafula. I do like it on draft. I used to drink Dr. Pepper. So, you know, it's...
You can find that here now quite often, though.
Yeah. So, and when I lived in America, it was Pepsi, not Cola. And I know Darren does have his Coke fetish, but that's fine. But yeah, so Kafula is it's just great. It's a nice, it's good with any food. And I know the Czechs would say, no, so's a beer, but a pivo. But no, Kafula does the trick for me.
Especially if you don't drink so much, as you said.
Exactly.
And what are some of the bad parts, though? There's got to be something that's not only the language, as you mentioned, it's tough to learn, but have you found any negatives around here that you go, oh, this is what I miss the UK for, or the other places you've lived? What would you say is something that's
Traffic lights. Traffic lights in the Czech Republic are the strangest thing ever. I was used to it in the US where you have the filter on the right-hand side. But here, you have the filter after the main one's gone. And it's like, why do you do that? It's empty, filter go, gone. Or the roundabout that's not a roundabout.
What is this? What's it? I think I know what you're talking about, but...
So you come to a T-junction and then there's a roundabout, but it's not actually a roundabout, it's just a T-junction. And it's got all these signs saying, watch out for a roundabout, and it's not. So that's... But the roads are great. I mean, the roads are great. I love the fact that the D1 actually works now. I mean, when I first arrived, it was horrendous, so that's an improvement. Being so close to other countries, Germany, Poland, and Slovakia is also great. Trains are fantastic, but yeah, train experiences are fun. I mean, I've travelled all over the world. Train experiences are fun, but in the Czech Republic, if you get the wrong seat, it's trouble. It's one of the most, I just get up and walk out, you know, it's just like, yeah, you just have the seat.
Take your seat.
Just take your seat, but they get very animated. And I think that's one of the things is, I've paid my ticket, that's my seat, I want to sit there. It's like, yeah, I'm getting off at the next stop, but you know, if it helps you, please just take it. So yeah, I would say trains and being on the trains it's a different experience from what I'm used to. It's usually in the UK, we don't usually have to have a ticket with a number on it. It's just, you just pick any seat. And yeah, the first couple of times I did that, I got into trouble.
Yeah, you don't mess with somebody's seat.
Yeah, you don't mess with my seat. So yeah.
Being a traveler as well, around here, if you've got any recommendations within this region of Ostrava and around, what would you say, where's a place that you like going to? Where's a place that you would recommend? Like Darren always mentioned Hookvalde, which is a great castle.
Yeah.
So what about you? Are there little hikes or mountains or places that you would recommend?
I like old castles. As I said, I like architecture. And there are, I think at last count, there's 19 literally in this area. And yeah, so for me, it's castles. You've got Bravins up the road, which has got the big pool area, and you've got all the swans, and you can just walk and walk and walk. So there's that. But if there's any festivals or any events, they're definitely worth going to. We've just had 30 years in Novici, and the place was packed. And we had Daryl Rowling's there, and she was singing a little heart out, you know, little Czech treasure that she is. So yeah, so things like that are really, really interesting that I certainly hadn't experienced as much. I mean, yeah, we have the big festivals in the UK, but not local festivals. You know, our local festival in the UK was, you know, guys dancing around with, you know, bells and whistles and stuff, you know, Morris dancers. So it's a different thing. People like to dance here. They like to sing. You might be in a local pub and all of a sudden somebody will bring out a guitar or an accordion and they'll just start singing and dancing. And yeah, that's really, really nice. And it doesn't matter where you go, there's always something to do. And as long as you an open mind and an open heart, yeah, you can have some really good times.
I am also quite a big promoter of like the more local, small town village pubs and stuff, because as rough and tumble as some of them can look,
Yes.
once you walk in and get past the
Spit and sawdust.
spit and sawdust and get past the crickets chirping as a foreigner walks in or somebody not local, there's usually a song and dance that comes later. You know, instruments come out and you usually kind of meet the grassroots of the people, but it's quite fun. So yeah, I agree completely. And how did you get involved with or meet up with the Ostrava Expat Center?
That's right. So,
Which is actually how I met you at one of
as
I was moderating a different event.
yeah, so I got involved with the expats a long time ago, and I just was either too busy or they were too busy. I went to a couple of the events, but I had to go quickly and I wasn't allowed to come back and blah, blah, blah. So I missed out. And then the 5th birthday came up. And that was being promoted. The 5th birthday was being promoted, and I said, yeah, I've got to go. I keep talking about it. I was talking to Darren about it, and then there was a little, we're meeting up in Ostrava, which is obviously where I met you. So I thought, I'll come along, I'll do my hello, see what it's like, and then Eleanor says, we've got our 5th birthday, you've got to come. So thanks, Eleanor. So I went to the 5th birthday. Obviously, Darren turned up as well. And then you and I and Darren would just end up talking. And yeah, it was really good from there on in. So I had been involved. I'd done a little bit. I'd forgotten. Things got busy. And then, yeah, the 5th birthday got promoted. And yeah, that's how we hit it off. So yeah.
Okay. Well, good that you're involved, even on the outskirts of it, what you do. All right. As we wind up the interview here, I've just got some quick fire questions and just to kind of lighten the mood a bit, you know, because it's been so heavy and serious this whole time. Okay, first off, of course, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs?
I have cats.
I was
but
about to say, I know you've got cats.
No, I'm definitely a dog person.
How are you dealing with the cats then? Are you really having to choke it down, you know, force it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. I know you're an avid reader as well, and so give me one or two of kind of your go-to books or authors, whichever you prefer.
David Gemmell, The Waylander, anything by Coates, any horror stories. Darren Baker's books are pretty good, but then again, they are about my family, so, you know.
That's a bit of bias.
Thanks, Darren. I like historical books. Bernard Cornwell, you know, anything by him is brilliant. The Harlequin series is great. Most of the books I read are historical by default. Historical books mostly. My favourite author is David Gemmell. He writes fighting fantasy books. He has a character called Druss the Legend, which is Waylander, which is about a fantasy world very similar to Conan the Barbarian. So yeah, those types of books are really good.
Just again, kind of knowing you on this one, video games or board games?
Video games.
Are you playing anything at the present moment?
So I'm playing Diablo 4 on the PlayStation at the moment, which is great. And I've played Diablo since the beginning when it first came out. So yeah, Diablo, and I also play The Witcher as well.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Keeping kind of local.
It's close.
All right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For talking with us today and inviting us to not your castle, but Zamek Bilovets.
Bilbets.
Very much appreciate it, and hope to see you out at some of the events soon, or yeah, we'll catch up.
Look forward to it. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Cheers. Thanks.
All right, check us out next time. We're going to try to keep on the road. I mean, we'll do what we can, and see you in the next episode. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Ostrava Expat Center.